Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is your brother in Al-Islam and your brother in humanity, Al-Hajj Charles Shabazz of Shabazz Islamic Ministries. Um, I I very seldom, every once in a while, I'll share something political on my channel, because sometimes the politics do go hand in hand. Even if it affects our society, if it affects our society, I'm going to speak out, especially from the Islamic perspective or Islamic point of view, inshallah. Of course, I talk about voting a lot, right? And this past week, the primary elections were held. Alhamdulillah, I was able to take part in that. And fortunately, Brother Andre Carson wins again in the primary, and inshallah he'll win in the upcoming elections in November. But that's what I'm going to talk about. So for those of you who have been keeping up, just recently the U.S. Supreme Court passed a judgment that actually gutted parts of the Voting Rights Act of 1965. What does this mean, right? First of all, the Supreme Court judgment is targeting all predominantly minority and specifically predominantly African American or predominantly Latino districts in the country. In other words, these districts will be assimilated by broader areas that surrounds these districts that are either suburban or rural. And of course, the suburban and rural areas tend to be pro-MAGA, pro-Trump, whatever, right? So in other words, it does not mean necessarily that we cannot vote as African Americans, but what it does mean is our votes will become meaningless. That's what it is about to that's what it means. That's what it's about to become. That no matter what you vote for, your vote will not affect the outcome of of how things are changing the government. And this is a very sad situation. Some of you would refer to it as nightmarish, right? What I would say is, one thing that we as Muslims believe, and even believers in other religions like Christians and Jews believe, we believe in the concept of qadr. In other words, what qadr is, it's predestination. In other words, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has already written this out before it happens. Anything that has happened is because it was already meant to happen, right? And we should seek Allah's wisdom. Why is it that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is allowing this to happen? What is Allah's purpose behind it, right? Why is he allowing this? Okay. Of course, we don't know until time moves on, right? But you're also seeing what's going on in Iran, what's happening in the Gulf area, that part of the world. Contrary to what the news here in the West is telling you, the United States is losing. It's losing very badly. And the Zionist friend is losing very badly. So like Public Enemy used to say, don't believe the hype of the news here. And I would say because of this and the fact that Trump's numbers are significantly lower, probably the lowest in history, including his Vice President Vance. So in all desperation, one of the things that they're doing is they've been gerrymandering districts for a long time. I mean, that's nothing new, but they're doing it now on a higher scale, on a bigger scale than ever. And what makes it worse is now they have the backing of the Supreme Court. I encourage all of you to listen to a speech that's over 60 years old now. The speech is a famous speech. It's called The Ballot or the Bullet. That's the name of the speech. Disclaimer, that's the name of the speech. Okay? It's called The Ballot or the Bullet by El-Hajj Malik El-Shabazz, aka Malcolm X. It is perhaps his most famous speech. And I would argue that this speech, even though it's over 60 years old, and Malcolm was talking about the climate, the political, social, and ethnic climate of this country at that time, it is louder than ever now in the year 2026. Even though my mother is no longer with me, may Allah grant her Jannah, I'm glad she doesn't have to see this. You know, I'm glad she doesn't have to see this. But if you listen to Malcolm's speech, it is louder than ever. You would see, wow, it's talking about now. So I'm going to put his speech, the URL, in the description so you can check it out for yourself. Assalamu alaikum, and peace to everyone else.